I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a Patreon request for Jonathan Lindsay, who wanted my thoughts on the Untold Story, which is a film I've never heard of. It's a film, first off, thank you to anyone who has joined me on my Patreon. If you're interested in joining it, certain tiers, you can get certain requests, things of that nature. Or if you ever want to request any type of video, whether it be a review, re-review, commentary, movie topic, what have you, you do directly via my PayPal. Links to either one are down in the info box. If not, no worries. But today, the Untold Story I've never heard of. I didn't know what this was. But it was for free on YouTube. Came out in 1993. I guess it's somewhat based on a true story. Something about the 8 Immortals Restaurant murders that took place around 1985 in Macau. And it stars Anthony Wong, who is the bad guy in Hard Boiled, and Danny Lee, who was in The Killer. And I always remember him as Inframan. I'm like, it's Inframan. Does Inframan, I reviewed that on the channel. That's the film I grew up with immensely. Quite a bit was Inframan. So I'm like, oh shit, Inframan's in the film and he's a cop. Just like he was a cop. Yeah, he was a cop in The Killer. This, though, I didn't mind the film. It was interesting to watch. It was very gory. At times it was fairly disturbing, which was the point of it. If my friend Effrey sees this, don't watch this movie. I'm sure he'll be laughing his ass. Don't watch this movie. Because in a way, Maniac is kind of, I want to say an inspiration, but at times it can be disturbing on that front. I know he's not a big fan of that. The Joe Spinell one, I should say. I liked it for what it is. Same thing with this, although I would put Maniac above this. Because the setup is these cops led by Danny Lee are investigating the disappearance of this guy who owned this restaurant, the 8 Immortals Restaurant. And this other guy, Anthony Wong, is working on it, and he keeps saying, oh, I don't know where they went. I guess they moved to Canada. Him and his wife and his kids and all that. So it's a gradual investigation. And from time to time we see Anthony Wong's very disturbing, violent tendencies. I mean, it starts out with this guy beats him at a game, and the guy... Actually, I think he beats the guy at the game, and the guy gets pissed, and he burns the guy to death. And then you have these limbs that wash up on the beach. It does have sort of an inconsistent tone, because I guess to ease the disturbing gore, which I'll get to, try has this really goofy humor with the cops. Like Danny Lee, almost anytime we see him for the first half of the film, he pops in with another hooker around his arm. And the other cops are pretty misogynistic in how they treat the female cop. Like, they're still friendly with each other, but it's like goofy misogynistic stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a prude. I'm the guy that loves many action movies. I love women. I love titties. I love women who like, women who like titties. I can understand men who like titties because I love titties, and anywhere in between, as long as you're 18 and clean, or over 18 and clean, either one. But this was consistently, oh, you don't have an ass, you don't have any tits. And again, they were not being mean or rude, but at the same time, it's like, got old after a while. Like, someone go, you like big tits? And the cops go, ooh. And then they look at their fellow officer, the female, and they shake their head, yeah, ooh, yeah. And granted, the first time I did laugh, I will admit, I did laugh at that. But it got a little bit redundant, and it just seemed like a very tonal shift. Maybe this is not that always misogynist. It just got a little bit redundant and just like, okay, Inframan keeps being seen with these hookers with nice ass or tits, and like, there's what else he got for the humor movie, and it just, again, very tonal shift. Instead of witty banter, witty dialogue between the characters that, say, Larry Cohen could write, or even a film like Night of the Creeps would have with Tom Atkins, that cop character, Thrill Me, or it just seemed that was the go-to for humor instead of any witty humor dialogue, which was a shame. And then anytime it goes to Anthony Wong, it's just very disturbing stuff. I mean, he kills a guy, stabs him in the eye, bashes his head, and then dismembers him. And you see this in somewhat of detail. Cutting the pieces up, putting the pieces in the machine, in one of those machines where you really see the strings of meat coming out. And then you see these big bloody bones, and he just dumps them in the trash bin. And then we see him take the meat, which is this human carcass, and make fucking food. Make fucking food with them. I forget exactly what the food is called. Barbecue beef. And then later on serves it to the cops. So it does have this grim photography, sort of eerie, somber music quite a few times. That what the job is trying to do, I thought, was rather effective. And I give credit to that. The grim photography, look of the film. Again, some of his sick sense of humor, like the guy serving this dead person to these cops who's asking questions. The only one who doesn't eat is Inframan himself. But the other, they're eating it, and like, we're grossed out with the audience. As the audience, just, we know what it is, but they don't know what it is. But I mean, with that said, I was enjoying is not the right word, but for what it's trying to be, I appreciate what it was trying to be, and the fact that it did it fairly well. Like, Anthony Wong's performance is definitely a different type of bad guy, him playing, compared to his bad guy in Hard Boiled. Danny Lee, which isn't in the film tremendously in the first half of the movie, and it's not sadly a ton of action or shootouts or car chases. It's more just investigation, and then come back to what this guy's doing. There's one scene that I did not care for at all, and I did, if this happened in real life, I did it, but it almost seemed as if this was just going really far for shock value, for cheap shock value. And that's this female worker, you already know where I'm going at with this, told the cops something, he gets pissed, It's a rape scene. It goes on for way too long, trying to be disturbing. Stuffs the paintings in her mouth. Gets like a bunch of chopsticks. Stabs her in the pelvis. You can imagine where he stabbed her. And you get enough of the idea. And I'm going, yeah, I get that this is supposed to be disturbing. This is just shock value on a cheap level. And you say that for Maniac, but Maniac didn't have any rape scenes. Joe Spinell had weird ideas, which the director said no, and I think William Lustig was right for it. I think Joe Spinell had one crazy idea that his character should bite a clit off. And William Lustig's like, no, nothing like that. And maybe you needed a William Lustig type of director for this movie. Or like someone to go like, there's a certain far, we're already disturbed as is. Now you're just like, that was cheap. Okay, yeah, whatever movie. So I mean the movie lost me a bit with scenes of that nature. I mean, I get it. It's supposed to be disturbing, so it's getting the effect across of its intended purpose. At the same time, in wrestling, they would call it cheap heat. Like there's heat to get the crowd mad and really hating your guts, and then there's cheap heat. And if you want to know what that all entails, feel free to look it up on Google or something. It's just going back, Inframan says to the other cops to put, because he knows something's up with Anthony Wong, something's weird with this guy, put him on 24-hour surveillance. They find stuff in a garbage truck. They bring him in. And then a good chunk of the third act is pretty much them beating the fuck out of Anthony Wong to get him to talk and release info. And in fact, at one point, they put him in prison with the brother of the victim. Not of the girl, but the guy who owned the restaurant who's missing and presumed dead. And also, obviously, since that guy was the person's brother, that means the other family killed is also his relative. So I kind of like that idea where this sick, pathetic killer is put into a prison and just beating the ever-loving fuck out of the brother of one of the victims. And other people beat his ass too. So I kind of like that idea. And the guy even takes the killer and puts his head in the toilet and pisses on his head. Usually I'm not for that scene, but considering what kind of guy this is, I don't mind it. And like the guy tries to commit suicide, bites an artery out, rushes to the hospital. He tries to escape. Anyway, they keep torturing him. They get blisters on his skin, inject him with stuff, and he finally tells. And this scene was pretty disturbing as well. Apparently the owner was he cheated the owner out of the place, out of money. The owner didn't want to pay. Anthony Wong got pissed off and pretty much goes after him and his family and ties them all up. And listen, people like my friend Effrey, there's no reason to see this film. It would not be your cup of tea, and I don't blame you. As a guy who survived films like Gutter Balls, I mean, this is way better than Gutter Balls. I get what it was intended to. The story was trying to tell. How much is based on the true story? I don't know. I get it. But, he kills the kids one by one. The mom, the dad, one by one. You get to see enough to get the gist of the idea. Just the way how grim the photography sometimes it utilizes what you see is more effective than what you do see, but then it lets you see just enough. For its intended purposes, it was done fairly well. I mean, the way it ends, he gets arrested, but apparently he didn't want to go to trial, so he committed suicide, this character. And then that's the way the movie ends. And part of me just went, I kind of wish that this wasn't based on a true story. And that way you just go out with Inframan versus the bad guy from Hard-Boiled and having a one-on-one with this guy and shooting him in the face or chopping him to pieces or having him fall into a fucking grinder or something or wood chipper. Inject some little bits of cop action sequences involved, or I don't know. I mean, granted that's not fair because I didn't say the same thing about Maniac from 1980. But I don't know, Maniac, I was really impressed by Joe Spinell's performance. Here, Anthony Wong does okay. He does fine, but nothing about his performance made me take notice of him. Like his actions did, with how visceral, bloody, disturbing the director made it be. But his performance, it was fine, but it's nothing I will put on the list of the great villains of blah blah blah. It's like, it was fine, but apparently when it was released it got some award, not here in the US of course, but where it was released at, got some award notice for his acting. I'm like, I guess. Did fine. And so it's some of his weird tonal shifts of comedy with the cops was a bit okay, off kilter, almost to the extent of the original Last House on the Left, how its tonal shift, which seemed awkward. But I guess I liked it enough because it was cool to see Danny Lee and Ferman. It was cool to see Anthony Wong, the bad guy of Hard-Boiled. It was a story I'd never heard of, so it was interesting enough. The way it was directed, the way the score, the grim photography, and a lot bloodier than I thought it would be, to be fair. And the movie's not meant to be fun. It's not meant to be a joyride. It's its intended purpose. At the end of the day, the killer was dead, hence granted suicide, but it's not like it's a downbeat ending. It's not like it's a idea. It's based on a true story, how true it is, whatever. So, but because it's based on a true story, maybe there's certain limitations they could do and what they could not do. So it's hard to fault the people too much on that front. I mean, am I glad I saw it once? Yes. Would I ever watch it again? Not really. But hey, if you like movies in the vein of Maniac, if you like movies in that vein, based on true story about certain killers, you want to see stuff that's disturbing, but at least this is an actual movie. It's not a Serbian film or the fucking Human Centipede movies. Or Martyrs. I don't even consider them movies. I just consider them shock value of the movie. Like, if they're movies, then Two Girls, One Cup is a movie. People will disagree. That's how I view those movies. This one, though, at least for most, it's telling a story, and it's trying to have characters, and at least it's trying to have some humor. Whether you think the humor works or not, it's up to you. But at least it's kind of like the original Last House on the Left, which I'm not a big fan of that. I think the remake of Last House on the Left is better. I'd probably put this above the original Last House on the Left because at least the superficial reason of, oh, there's Inframan, being a big fan, oh, there's that guy, and oh, that's some good gore, that's some good special effects. Again, superficial reasons. But yeah, if you're into Maniac and those type of movies, yeah, this is worth a watch. It is for free on YouTube. If anything I said interests you, go give it a watch. Go give it a watch. Right, I just gave it everything away, but that's how I do reviews. Because it's just the way I could, it's the only way I could do reviews at any amount of effectiveness. And plus, if people are requesting, obviously they've seen the film, and I want to get in depth as possible for them. So again, if you're ever interested in requests, you do it via PayPal, Patreon, either way. If not, no worries. Overall, I liked it for what it is, but it's not a film I rewatch much because of the content. But at the same time, that's kind of its purpose. So I guess you could say it was effective. Although again, its tone, some of the weird shifts of comedy and what the cops do, not Danny Lee, but the other cops, the way they act, how goofy it is at times, like, this is a bit weird shift. If that makes sense. And the rape scene, even that, I think you're just going too far into just cheap shock value. That's just my opinion. But overall, for what it is, I don't mind it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.